All right, guys, what is up? This is Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to go to the next level. If you're looking at this live, go ahead and put your flames in the chat and also let us know where you're listening in from. I am your host, Junior Frederick, and I have with me the man himself, Mr. Bobby Stealth. And as usual, we have a phenomenal show for you today. I believe we're going to be talking about just the basics and the foundations of branding. So get your questions ready, get your pens ready. It's about to be another amazing show. Bobby, what's up? How you doing?
Doing good, Junior. Doing really, really well. We had a team call yesterday that sparked some things in me, about balance, a word that we don't really talk about much in business because we know it doesn't exist. Jack Welch said work-life integration is about as good as it gets, but there's no real work-life balance. So I really thought about it though yesterday. And as we build our brands and we build our businesses, Shaan always taught build your ideal life first and then build an ideal business around that. So I'm interested to just get into some of the basics of branding because that's a basic that we learned. That's like one of the first things we learned it in branding like a leader as we went forward. So I'm feeling really good this morning, reflective, feel pain, but like the right amount, like there should be some pain going on that's pressing you, pressure. So I'm feeling all the right things today. How about you, Junior?
Yeah, Bobby. You know, um, I'm always about total self recreation. That's what I'm about. I'm always about thinking of how can I do something different. I mean, yesterday was yesterday, today is today. And one of my mentors always told me that you can't win today's game with yesterday's score. You can't win today's game with yesterday's score. So, guys, whatever you closed yesterday, that's yesterday. What are you gonna do today? Whatever you did, whatever workout you did, whatever training you did, whatever studying you did, that was yesterday. It's today. And another mentor of mine said, um, when the clock strikes 12, he becomes a different man. So at
Mm.
midnight, every single day at midnight, when the clock strikes 12 and we move into a different day, he becomes a different man. So that's what's been on my mind as of lately. Of course, I've done my workout as usual. I've studied, done my sales training as usual. So I'm feeling amazing. So terrific Tuesday, as Dr. Michelle just said. So shout out to Dr. Michelle. Shout out to Tia Rogers as well from New Jersey. Yeah, I'm very interested to see where this conversation goes, Bobby. Very interested.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm thinking about as we also read the book Extreme Ownership is like the brand is really like your word, you know. So when we think about Apple, Apple gives us their word that they're going to be the most innovative technological handheld talking device, that you can possibly purchase. And that's their word. McDonald's gives their word that these French fries will be XYZ crunchy and these cheeseburgers will have two pickles, this many onions, ketchup and mustard, so on and so forth. So I think as we talk about just the essence of a brand and we go deeper into the basics of branding, I think understanding that your brand is your word should make
Mhm.
us more conscientious about the way we brand ourselves and the things we say and how we say them in the marketplace. So I'm sure we're about to go to a break, or you may have something for us when we get back. But that's what I'm thinking. I feel very esoteric today. They're very like, let's get to the root of this branding thing.
Okay, guys, this is about to get very interesting. Bobby, we can take it wherever you want to take it.
Yeah.
You can take it wherever you want to take it. Guys, we'll be right back after this quick break. Stay tuned. This is Breakfast with the Brand.
When I think of brand you, I think of being your best self, your most authentic. The reason why we were able to crush business, absolutely dominate in business without having the marketing list, without having the email huge list, without having the Facebook ads and the advertising budget, without knowing the algorithm. The reason we were able to do this is because I branded myself. I told my authentic story and I was comfortable in my skin. Why? Because it was that time in the world where everything was shifting. It was 2020, March. So you remember what happened during that time. It was like the world was coming to an end. So you didn't have anything to hold back. So I chose to give everything that I had and be everything that I am. And because I was that, because I branded me, because I was authentic, everything shifted. And people wanted more. And they wanted to know more about me and how they could become more comfortable in their skin. Listen, guys, when you brand you and not what you do, you're gonna add a zero to the world, but you'll also add a zero to your revenue. Let's grow. In brand clarity, exactly what you're gonna get is what it sounds like. Clarity for your brand. What is your color? What is your logo? What is your unique value proposition? Who are you speaking to? Why? How should you speak to them? How should I position myself? That's what you're gonna learn in brand clarity. You need other people to have the same clarity on your brand that you do. But this is the gap. If you don't have clarity on your brand, then no one else is gonna have clarity on your brand either. It's like messaging. Your message sounds clear to you, but is your end user receiving the value that you're trying to provide? I guarantee you that after you go through brand clarity, they will, and so will you. And that's how you'll scale your brand.
All right, guys, so we are back and we're talking about the fundamentals of branding. So if you're live, go ahead and put some flames in the comments. I know Dr. Michelle and I know Tia is locked in, and I know a couple people are looking as well. So Bobby, where do you want to get started, man? Where do you want to get started? I know you're feeling very esoteric. I tell people like there's different levels to branding. There's different levels to branding. So let's pick a place and let's start.
Yeah. So I like to start with this this video I saw. It was a reel, and the guy was talking about relationships. He was like, when you get in a shouting match with your partner, it's often because you've lost connection. He's like, you're both yelling at each other because you're not connected. You're not close enough to speak normally, like at a conversational tone. And I see that in the marketplace a lot, is that people will take these, what they call like stunts. They will go so crazy left field and try to do all of this stuff. They'll post 50 times in one day, and there'll be this and there'll be that and there'll be this. And what are they really doing? They're shouting from the rooftops. And guess what happens if they finally get into someone's DM or they finally get someone on the phone? That person shouts back at them, why the heck did you call me on this blank to blank morning? And I've got, and it's like, it's a shouting match. And when I watched that reel, I was like, I think the same is true in business. If you're shouting your brand or you're shouting your messaging, and the people that you're connecting with are shouting back to you how much they don't want it, it's probably because there's a lack of connection. And the brand has to resonate. It has to connect. The messaging has to be subtly transformative. So I think that'd be a good place to start, is really when you are authentic in your brand, you can speak in a conversational tone. But when you're unauthentic, you have to shout as loud as you can, hoping for someone to hear you or hoping for you to be louder than the next person.
Right. So let's talk about that. There's a couple ways or a couple things we could get into. And as you're talking, I'm actually writing down a couple of concepts to discuss as you're talking. Um, the other day, somebody asked me a question like, how do you really and truly create a magnetic message when it comes to branding? Well, now there's a difference between marketing and branding, a very, very subtle difference. In marketing, you create a message by using pain points and stuff like that. So you target your customers' pain points, you look at their dream and things like that. Now in branding, what I've seen is that a lot of the times what you're appealing to, Bobby, is you're appealing to an aspiration. In marketing, we call it a dream state. We call it a dream state. So it's an aspiration or a need for status. So for example, I asked a couple of women the other day, like how many of you have more than one bag? Okay. And how many of you would, if presented with the opportunity to get a designer bag, you would get the designer bag? So the question becomes, do you need another bag? Some women will say, yes, I absolutely need another bag. And I understand that. I respect that. But let's just boil it down to like bare necessities. Do you absolutely need it? Most of the time you don't, if you already have a few others. So then you have to ask yourself, like, what are people really buying? Okay, people are buying an identity, an aspirational identity, meaning that they're buying into the idea of the person that they want to become. If you think of all great influencers, all great leaders, Bobby, what they are selling is the image or the persona or the dream of becoming that person who you'd like to become. Many people look up to people like, let's say, David Goggins, great example. David Goggins is a phenomenal example. A lot of people look up to David Goggins, but what is it about him? When I think of personalities like David Goggins, like Tim Grover, like Jocko, and these people, what I think of is they remind us of the potential that we have in ourselves. They remind us of the potential that we have in ourselves, and they remind us that it's possible. And a lot of people that are being followed, a lot of influencers, the reason why people are following them is because their message reminds you of the person that you can be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really good, by the way.
Aspirational, because it's true. It's an aspirational call to action to become the person that you know that you can be. So all of the women that are looking, I want you to put it in the chat. Who is one woman that you look up to? Like who's just one other woman, maybe in business, maybe in life. It could be your mom. It doesn't have to be a celebrity. It doesn't have to be an influencer. Who is one woman that you look up to? I've asked several women this, and many of them have said to me, "Well, I look up to Michelle Obama. I love Michelle Obama." So then I say, "Well, okay, well, what do you love about Michelle Obama?" And then they'll run through a list of things that they love about Michelle. And then when you look at those list of things, what it really is a list of things that that particular woman wants to be for herself. Something that she knows in her heart of hearts that she can be, that she can aspire to, that she has the potential to become, right? So Michelle just put in Oprah. So there's certain things about Oprah that you like, certain characteristics, certain traits, and you know in yourself that if you can if you can dig deep enough, if you can believe hard enough, if you can grind hard enough, then you could aspire to achieve those things that you admire in her. And her message, when she puts it out, she reminds you of that potential. And it's the same way for multiple brands. So Bobby, when we talk about the brand messaging, if you're building a brand, I would say put out a messaging that reminds people of the potential in them and that inspires them to move forward. And here's the important thing: your solution, whatever you're providing, whatever you're selling, whether it's coaching, whether it's consulting, whether it's a physical product, that solution has to be the doorway or the gateway for them to get into or to become that inspirational, aspirational personality that they know they can become, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah. This is so great because I was thinking about something someone told me once, and they said, "Why are you building another man's business?" They didn't understand. They didn't get it. They were like, "Why are you working so hard to help someone else?" And what I thought about was aspiration, leadership, and the things that money can't buy. When you look at someone, like, I don't think people understand how valuable an example is. How valuable an example is. See, here in the US, we say seeing is believing. In the US, we also say if you believe it, you can achieve it. Now, what happens if you never see it and you never believe that it could happen for you? Well, you never achieve it. And most times, I see people to be so short sighted. They're always looking for what they can get instead of what they can give. And a brand, in my experience, gives more than it gets. It gives more than it gets because the brand itself doesn't get anything. There's no bank account for the brand. Like, really hear me. Like, there's no bank account for the brand. There's no kudos for the brand. Like, hey, good job, brand. Like, the brand is a energy. It's an aura. It's intangible. So what's it all for? Like, why do it in the first place? Because it's a signal. It's something people can see. It's something that people can resonate with and can aspire to. So my response, I didn't respond to the individual because I knew they wouldn't get it. But I want to share it with you guys because you may get it. It's the same reason I helped protect and build this country is the same reason I help and build other people's companies because there are people that started well before me and they know a lot more than me and they've probably been well disciplined and committed. So what does that mean? That means I'm learning from them. I'm growing with them. I'm aspiring to be what they are. And all of that is making me a brand that can do the same thing for someone else. So when I think about branding and I think about the hierarchy of brands, like Steve Jobs got hired. I mean, he got fired from Apple before he built Apple to what it became. Like he was there and then he got fired. The reason I think that that's very important is because of the brand. He wasn't he wasn't who he needed to be. He was immature. If you've read his book, it talks about it. He was immature, he was hot-headed, he didn't know how to talk to people, and he needed to go somewhere where he could actually become what the people needed to see. And where did he go? What did he build before he went back to build Apple? He built Pixar, and Pixar is a movie company. It's like one of those. It's like Disney. And while he was there, he was learning how to bring dreams to life, and he did that for years. And then the way he got back into Apple, for those that don't know the story, is they did a buyout. So he owned so much of Pixar, and then Apple bought Pixar. And when they bought it, then everything dissolved, but they owned so many shares. So, long story short, that's how Steve Jobs became the CEO of Apple again. And it was all connected to who he became based on who and what he was building. So, as I digress from that point, the thing that I have for Junior and for you all is, where are you building your brand? Where are you building it? For me, I built it inside of three communities primarily: branded like a leader, leadership leverage, high performance consulting. Those were the places and people I was around when I was building and developing my brand, when I was helping build and develop those communities as a member of one of those communities. And when I got out of those communities, then boom, lo and behold, I built my own thing. So, Junior, what do you have to say about that in the sense of, you know, being inspired so that you can inspire, knowing how to follow so that you can aspire, and being where your brand can actually develop because the brand is your word?
Right. So we said inspired, right? So inspired and then inspire. And then we said where the brand can develop.
Mhm.
So I would say that I like what you said in the beginning when you spoke about an example, like the power of an example. I could remember Bobby when I just got started several years ago. Um, this is maybe like almost 10 years ago. Um, Man, I didn't even know you could make money on the internet. I didn't even know you could make money on the internet. I didn't think it was real. I didn't think that was real. Making money on the internet. I didn't think that was real. I think I've told my story before. Somewhere towards the end of that story, I ended up Googling, I think, how to make money online, something like that. And then lo and behold, I literally stumbled across something called copywriting. and it said that if I write for people, they'll give me money. So I'm saying to myself, you mean all I have to do is just get on the internet and write for people, just write words like I'm writing right now, and people will give me money for that? I didn't understand that. So I
Mm.
tested it out. I tested it out, and I can remember making my first $100 via PayPal. Bobby, today it is to this day it is still the best $100 I've ever made
Yeah.
because of what you just said. It's an example, and also, and I have to give the the credit to Sean on this one. When I encountered Sean, it was around that same time, several years ago, maybe five years ago. Um, when it came to leadership, like leadership development stuff like that, like that's not stuff that we don't talk about that stuff. I don't know where you're from if they talk about that, but where I'm from, people don't talk about that stuff. People don't talk about leadership development. They don't talk about leadership. It's not really something that is discussed. Like the people that know, they know.
Hmm.
Those that don't know, they just don't know. But when I met Sean, Sean introduced me to the concept of leadership development. He introduced me to the chess test, many concepts of leadership and stuff like that. Funny enough, and I know you've asked me this question before, have I always seen myself as a leader? The answer to that is no. I've never had the perception or never seen myself as a leader. I've always felt that I was a leader, and I've always been in leadership positions throughout my life, like from going way back to school, etc., etc. But I've never thought of myself as a leader. And through Sean's example, showing me, leadership development and introducing me to the concept, then I could now say that I see myself as a leader, and my life has sort of followed after that. So I believe the power of an example is real.
Yeah.
I believe that lineage. So when you look at all brands have a lineage. So if you go back to, let's say, Tony Robbins had a coach. Tony Robbins was one of my favorite speakers, by the way, Jim Rohn. I love listening to Jim Rohn speak. I think he's funny. I think he's very, intelligent and absolutely amazing, absolutely transformational. So Tony Robbins had Jim Rohn. I think Dr. Eric Thomas had who did he have? He had somebody as well. I don't remember. Maybe Zig Ziglar. I'm not too sure, but he had somebody as well. And then there are a few other people. Like they all came from somewhere. So I think when you have a brand with a lineage, it adds to your credibility. It also helps you to move and push yourself and your brand a lot faster. And it allows you to build on a solid foundation by standing on the back of giants who came before you. And I think that's very, very important. It's very, very important. Like everybody who's anybody knows everybody in their space,
Yeah.
like especially in our space. Anybody who's anybody in our space, they know everybody else who's anybody in our space. And they all learn from each other, they all collaborate, and they all grow together. So that's super, super important. There are many salespeople today that learn from Grant Cardone that have now done their own thing. So I believe that getting inside of the right community, having the right example, being inspired by the right person is absolutely important, absolutely transformational. And all leaders come from leaders, but to be a phenomenal leader, you have to first be a phenomenal follower. There's a concept of a flag carrier. And I think when we had Joel on the show, it was Joel D. Smith who really explained this in a way that I found absolutely transformational. He said that to be a phenomenal leader, you have to be an amazing follower or phenomenal follower. So the reason why leaders stop growing is because they stop following. The reason why leaders stop growing is because they stop following. So if you're the kind of person now, if you're the kind of person that has a lot of confidence, you believe that you're phenomenal, you believe that you're great, you believe that you're destined for greatness, it can be very tough to want to follow somebody else, Bobby. It can be very, because you have an ego. You're like, I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest CFO in America, right? Why would I follow anybody else? So there's a lot of ego involved, I believe. But then there's also a concept of being a flag carrier. So what is a flag carrier? A flag carrier is somebody who is carrying the flag of somebody else.
Hmm.
So it's like if you could have been back in the day when Martin Luther King was marching and when he was doing his thing, and you could have been right by his side and support him. And he was the star. He was the highlight of the show. He was the person on the news and getting the notoriety, etc., etc. And you could have carried his flag. Would it have been worth it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the concept of the flag carrier. Now, hear this out, and this is something I've thought about a lot. As leaders, as CEOs, we want to be the star. We want to be the face. We want to be the face of the brand. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's also nothing wrong with being a flag carrier, helping somebody else carry their flag. And once you've assisted that person, then carrying your own flag. Because you have to think about it, Bobby. When you become the face eventually, right, of your brand, when you get in the spotlight, when you have your moment in the sun, when you're ready to shine, you're going to need a flag carrier as well.
Yeah.
You're going to need somebody else that's going to say, okay, I see what Bobby's doing. I believe in what Bobby's doing. I love what he's doing. I can get behind his vision, his mission. I want to assist him. I want to help him carry his flag, and I want to help him become the person that he was meant to become. So there's nothing wrong with being a flag carrier, because when you eventually become the person or the face on that flag, you're going to need a flag carrier yourself.
Yeah. I know we're going to go to a break, but I do want to say one thing before we do, and it may go a little while, but it's a short concept, but it makes a lot of sense right here. Make the most of your flag carrying moments. So in the military, we say, in the Marine Corps at least, sergeant is the best rank in the Marine Corps. Gunnery sergeant is the next best. Now, why might we say that? So on our side, the enlisted side, how many ranks are there? There's a total of 9 ranks. Okay. The sergeant rank is rank number 5 out of 9. You're right in the middle. You're not the bottom of the barrel, right? You're not an E1 private, E2, private first class, been a while. And then lance corporal, like you're none of those guys. You're the sergeant. So you're also not the staff sergeant, the gunnery sergeant, the master sergeant, first sergeant, or sergeant major. So what do? Whatever the heck you want to do. Like, that's what you do as the sergeant. And that's why it's so much fun. And when you're the flag carrier, it's kind of similar, because you aren't the bottom of the barrel because you actually have the flag, but you're not the top of the top where people are sniping for you either. Like, they're trying to take you out. It's like you're right in the middle. You've got all these resources to use. You've got all these people to command and deploy, and you've got this optimal opportunity to learn and to grow. So I just wanted to share that piece as we do talk about brand development, because that's what it is. So us in the military, a sergeant is what we call an NCO. So you've got junior Marines, which are which are not non-commissioned officers. Then you have the non-commissioned officers, and then you have the staff non-commissioned officers. So the brand that we have in the military, in the Marine Corps, we call it customs and courtesies, like our entire brand, rests in the hands of the staff non-commissioned officers. Now, before you become a staff non-commissioned officer, an E6, what we call a keeper of traditions, you have to go through the first 5 ranks. And when you get to rank number 4 and rank number 5, it's really brand development. Do you know your Marine Corps history? Do you know your Marine Corps knowledge? Do you know your combat training and combat scenario navigation? It's all about the brand. It's all about developing the person so that when they become an E6, they can actually carry the torch and be the face like they're supposed to be. So I just thought that was a very good analogy, because it's one that I experienced firsthand in the military. And you're so right. Phenomenal leaders were first phenomenal followers.
100%. Guys, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, more on branding. Stay tuned.
I said Shaan right east. I'm proud. That's Shaan right east. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Shaan, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes.
Right, guys, so we are back and we've been talking about a couple interesting concepts. Bobby, I particularly like that the flag carrier concept. I particularly like that because that is something that is very, very misunderstood.
Right.
So yeah, man, tell me your thoughts. What are your thoughts been so far, guys? By the way, if you do have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. This is 100% live. So I noticed Dr. Michelle has put in a couple women that she finds inspiration from. She says Oprah, she says Robin Roberts, and she says my mom.
Nice,
of course.
Nice. Yes. Nice. So far this has been incredible, and I want to tie it back to the revenue and back to the sales now, because that's what everybody's looking for, right? You're trying to scale your business. You're trying to increase your impact, income, and independence. So to do that, you got to have some revenue. You got to have some sales. So one of the things that I would like to say as we transition here is the brand is the base. So me and my buddy were talking this morning. He's in Okinawa. So like we talk early in the morning if I'm going to talk to this guy. He's like 12 hours behind. So I'm talking to my buddy and we are talking about long distance versus short distance, the sprint versus the jog, so to speak. And pretty much you can sprint further, faster normally when you have a stronger base, strong legs, strong cardio, strong cardiovascular system. What does that mean about branding and sales? It means that if you have a weak brand, you're probably not going to make a lot of sales. You may make some sales, but it won't be a ton of sales. But if you got a strong brand, an enduring brand that's got like a cardiovascular system that doesn't stop, like the brand is strong, you make a lot more sales, and you can make them faster usually too. So we were just talking about the base. So that's why we wanted to open up the way we did, because the brand is the base. The brand is what creates the longevity of your sales opportunities. So as we pivot into the sales piece, one of the things that I noticed was the bigger the brand becomes, the less people you have to sell. So what I mean by that is like you can increase your prices the bigger the brand gets. You can increase the quality the bigger the brand gets. You can say, I only do business with XYZ, the bigger the brand gets. And I think that's one thing that just is overlooked sometimes when we don't think about brand. Most people think about volume. They think about quantity. It's like, if I make this many sales at this price, then I'll make this much money. They have no concept though, or at least they don't really think about it too much, of who they have to sell, how they have to sell it, how long it's going to take, how much money it's going to take, how upset they're going to be while they do it. Like all those little different things come into play. So my question to you, Junior, is have you ever done business with someone that you wish you could just give them their money back? I just wish I didn't take the money. Here.
Of course, as as Jim Rohn would say. Of course. I mean, listen, there are like, okay, I think in the beginning, when you just start like, selling whatever it is that you're selling, a lot of us, man, we're just trying to close. So you don't understand that there are some people that it's better off you just better off just not taking their money. You don't understand that because you're trying to make the sale. You're trying to, sustain your business, take care of your family. So you don't realize that you're probably better off not working with this person, for any amount of money. And I literally mean that. Like it would be better even if they gave you like $20,000, it would be better to just say no and give them the money. But you don't know that going in. So I mean, definitely I've worked with people that it would have just been better to just say no. But the thing is, Bobby, you don't always know that until you it's just like a relationship. Okay, woman gets into a relationship, she thinks the guy's a great guy changes along the way. It's you can never really tell, right? So it's just one of those things. I believe that you can't really know until you get into it. But you can put in like different measures to protect yourself, just like with all things, like qualifying harder, for example. But it's never something that is 100% certain, I don't think. Like you never really truly know until you engage that person in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where the brand, I believe, really comes in. When you develop it properly and you go through the process that we talked about in Branded Like a Leader and you really develop it, you can push and pull. You can repel the unideal client and attract the ideal client. And how we opened up today, we said you want to make sure you build your ideal life first and then build the ideal business around that. So I think the brand also is an extension of your morals, values, and principles. And when you get the MVPs right and you move forward in expressing yourself in the marketplace, then you're more likely to attract people that resonate with you and who you are as a person, as an individual. And I found that those guys are a lot more fun to work with. Right? They're a lot more fun to work with. And that's why I actually changed my messaging for a while to veterans. Like I only work with veterans. I only want to work with veterans because we get it. We get the work ethic. We get the late hours, the early mornings. We get it. And it's a lot more fun to work with people that get it, to me. So, Junior, as we talk about brand positioning and pricing and things of that nature, what is something that people should know about but aren't really thinking about as far as their brand is concerned? Because we don't know what we don't know. So one of the best questions I learned to ask during my time in Branded Like a Leader is, what question am I not asking that I should be asking? So if the audience is a aspiring entrepreneur, they've got some revenue but not a lot, they're trying to build their brand, like what question are they probably not asking right now that's costing them money?
A good one is, what is my next logical step? As simple as that sounds. Most people don't take the next logical step. I can save an entrepreneur a lot of money. I mean, a ton of money. There's a lot of stuff that you could eliminate, reduce, and remove. Like people are doing a lot of stuff that they just don't need. Like, for example, if you haven't made six figures, there's no real need to market on like five different platforms. Like, you don't need to do that. You could market on one platform and get to six figures. There's a lot of stuff. I'll give you an example. There's no need to pay somebody to do graphic designing for you or stuff like that, graphic design for posts and stuff like that. You don't need that. There's a lot of stuff that you don't need. And I think people need to focus on their next logical step, which hardly anybody ever asks. So, like, what is your next logical step? And then just do that and make that work, as opposed to trying to, try to do everything, taking advice from five different coaches, trying to implement advice from like 10 different people. It just doesn't work. Like, what is the next thing that you need in order to hit that goal, which should be attracting more clients, converting more clients? If it's a website, get a website done. If you already have the website, what is your next logical step? Do you need to revisit your offers? Maybe you need to check out your offers. After you've checked out the offers, what is your next logical step? Well, I need a system for customer acquisition. Then you build that. Let's say you have leads coming in, you're getting bookings. What is your next logical step? Well, how do I close these bookings? You need a script. Develop the script. The script doesn't work. What's the next logical step? Refine the script, increase your show up rates, and then you close.
Mm-hmm.
It's not complicated. It's easy.
Yeah.
But it's just that people don't ask themselves the right questions. And if you ask the wrong questions, I guarantee you always find the wrong answers.
Junior, that makes me laugh, like, because one of the most expensive things I think in business, and this literally just dawned on me, and I have been doing CFO work for almost 4 years now, right? Deep CFO work. One of the most expensive things a business owner experiences in the first 3 to 5 years of business is rework. Now, rework means you did something and you did it out of sequence, so you did it 5 times. We call that rework. So, for example, I bought a website, but I didn't know what my offer was. So the website, when I bought it, cost me $1,000. Then I had made a relationship with my web guy, so I kept working with it, and this is a personal experience. Like my first website cost me $1,000. After that first website, I bought 2 more websites from the same guy. Cost me about $1,000 to $2,000 more just to get it updated. And then when I spent multiple 5 figures for a real website, I almost spent 50 grand for a website when I could have spent half of that or a quarter of that. And most times that comes from just doing things out of sequence. I remember doing the same thing with appointment setters. Before I had a script, before I knew my ideal client, before I had made X amount of dollars, I went and spent 5,000 something plus dollars, multiple 4 figures, maybe more than that, on appointment setters and agencies and stuff. They didn't set a single appointment. Like these guys didn't set an appointment.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And if you look over it though, like if most entrepreneurs don't do this either, but like if you track your metrics, like I did, because I granted had a finance background, I'm able to go back and see tax wise how much money I actually lost from just executing out of sequence. Long story short, one of the best things you can do is exactly what Junior just said. So I just wanted to edify him because he's on the money, because I was there spending a lot of money.
Yeah. Like I could have saved you that $5,000, Bob. If you told me, if you messaged me and you said, Junior, I'm about to hire some appointment setters, I'll say, Bobby, where's your script?
Yeah.
And you trust me, you would not have spent that 5K. Like I'll save you a lot of money, because there are just like this goes back into what I was saying a couple of days ago. You don't do step number 5 in step number 2.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do step number 7 in step number 5. It doesn't work that way. You have to do step number 1 in step number 1, step number 2 in step number 2. You have to have the right sequencing in business and just in life in general. Yeah. And not only business. Notice I said life in general. Like there's certain stuff you have to do in the right way to have a good life. That's just the way it works. So I love what you just said, man. What I'll say to that, business owners, they just need to make sure that they do things in the right way, and they will get the right results. But the question should be, what is my next logical step in order to get to the next level? Bobby, we're going to go to one last break. When we come back, more on branding. Guys, stay tuned. We'll be back very soon.
The difference between sales and closing, I get this all of the time, guys. Closing is elegant. Closing is luxurious. Closing is the most profitable. Sales, high pressure tactics. No one associates car sales, right, the sleazy sales tactics, with closing, because closing is elegant. Closing is excellent. You have to be a professional in order to close deals. Listen, when you do this the right way, when you learn what we're going to teach you in here, your clients will be trying to close you. And they won't let you close them for low numbers. So you'll be able to heighten, increase your profitability, increase your visibility, increase your reach, and increase your impact in the marketplace. And be confident and comfortable charging higher prices than you ever thought possible to the right people who can actually pay for them and then say thank you for closing them.
Confidence is key. Most of the people I work with, they have the education, the experience, and the expertise. We call those the 3 E's. But they're looking for the 3 I's, the income, the impact, and the independence. And I always tell them that the bridge between the 3 E's and the 3 I's is marrying your confidence to your competence. Most of the people I work with, again, have all of the competence in the world. What I help them do is get the confidence.
What's up? What's up? Guys, put it in the chat if you've enjoyed today's show. Put some flames in the comments. Let us know. Let us know.
Yeah. You know, Junior, before we get out of here, one of the things that stuck out to me, like as I was thinking about the next logical step, was something that I read in a book. And I cannot remember verbatim, but I do remember the book. It was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'm probably going to read that book again this year. It was a really, really impactful book for me. But the author said something. He said, you cannot change a series of bad actions with a string of positive words. In other words, what he was saying was, it's like, you can't do one thing over and over and over again and say something opposite and assume that it's just going to erase everything that you've done. He was also saying, like, and even if you say the same thing over and over again and you stop doing the one action, you still got to take the opposite action consistently over time before you start to see a reversal of any kind. And I think that was really important, because I'm thinking about my next logical step here, because without getting into too many details, like, I have been a sprinter in many areas of my life. And when you're sprinting, a lot of things are being sacrificed. A lot of things are being overlooked. A lot of things are being, just disregarded and neglected. And I've been in a sprinter, since I joined the military. And then I went straight from the military. I deployed twice, did all of these different things. I'm on all these different missions. And then I went straight into business. So when I say I've been sprinting for the last 15 years, like, maybe I've probably worked like 12 hours a day for like maybe 10 out of the 15 years. Like, if I just accumulated all of them. So that's a lot of time of not being with other people, not supporting my relationships, not looking within myself, like just all grind. And now I'm thinking to myself, brand. All right. I'm thinking about the brand. I'm like, okay, the brand. I am the brand. What does my brand say about me right now? And it may say that I am reckless and that I am aggressively unconcerned with the well-being of others. Now, do I want that to be my brand? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But what I am saying is that it would behoove me to sprint a little less and rebuild a bit more. And that's kind of what this whole conversation has brought to me. So that's like my takeaway is like, if I'm the brand, I've got to do things in sequence. I got to know my next logical step. But my brand is my word. Like, if I've been sprinting for 15 years and I've been, neglecting myself, others, priorities, it's got me thinking. That's what I'll say. It's got me thinking.
No, I love that. I love that you said that, because when you said that, what I was thinking, and I actually wrote down something. I wrote down the old African proverb which says, "If you want to go far, go alone. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together." And what I was thinking of is family and how important it is to take your family on the journey with you. That's something I've been thinking about a lot. Like taking the people that matter to you the most on the journey with you. To me, that's a must. That's a must because, like Jack Welch was saying, it's about work-life integration. Now, Bobby, I happen to believe that you can have it all. So when I say you can have it all, I mean that you could have the money, you could have the respect, you could have the brand, but I believe you can also have a family. You can also have a great relationship with your spouse, with your kids. You can also have a healthy life. You can also have, you know, vacations, stuff like that. You could also be free. You could also, not have to work 12 hours a day. I actually believe that. I believe you can have it all. And one of those key parts of having it all is being able to take your family with you on the journey. Be able to bring the people that matter to you the most on the ride with you so they could experience it, firsthand, what you're going through on a daily basis, why you're doing what you do, so that they can understand and support you on your journey. Like that is absolutely, absolutely, that's a non-negotiable for me. I have to take my family with me because that's literally what I do. It's literally what I do. Like there's no separation. And another interesting thing, I asked myself the question, and maybe the people looking should ask themselves this question to sort of wrap up the show. If somebody had to take a camera, if somebody had to videotape your life right now, so I mean your private life right now, so what you do with your family, the way you treat your family, the way you treat your team, what you do in your spare time, how disciplined you are, how much you work out, how much you eat, how much you actually work on your business. Like there are people that are working on their business and not working on their business. Like you spend 5 hours but only getting 1 hour of work done. If somebody could follow you around with a video camera and tape what you do on a daily basis, like do a day in the life of Bobby Jackson, a day in the life of Junior Frederick, what would your brand say about you? What would the audience say about you? That's a very important question. And if you feel like there are certain areas where you would be embarrassed, or certain areas where you feel like I'm not doing enough, or you wouldn't feel proud letting people see, then that tells you the areas that you need to work on. And that's for all of us, myself included. That tells you the areas that you need to work on. And that's all I'll say on that. Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up right now. Thank you so much for viewing. This has been Breakfast with the Brand. Bobby and I will be back tomorrow at 8 a.m. East. Looking forward to seeing you on the other side. Bobby, do you have any closing comments?
No closing comments at this time. One thing that you said that just stuck out to me is you can work or you can have what you want without working 12 hours a day. And, I believe that is possible. And I think another thing that I'm considering is just effectiveness. And again, my background was economics. So it's like, okay, how can you achieve economies of scale or economies of scope? Like economics is all about the study of scarce resources with alternative uses, time being a very scarce resource.
100%. All right, guys. So thank you so much. This has been Breakfast with the Brand. See you tomorrow. Same place, same time. Let's grow.
Let's grow.